well, welcome to Cooking with Heart Foundational Class 2. So we are going to, this to me is like one of the most important topics that is not covered in many kind of programs out there. It's very powerful, so you just wait. So I know we're getting set up here, but next week we're going to talk about transitioning to plant-focused eating. So now we aren't saying that you have to be vegetarian or vegan. We're just saying plant-focused. You can still have animal. Next week, we're going to give you some options that are plant-based for protein. In particular, we're going to give you, open your eyes to tofu. So tofu is often trash talked and people just shun it. So, and it's perfectly fine to not eat tofu. You can be extremely healthy without it. But it is an option. It's easy. It's inexpensive. I have it probably 5-6 times a week. So, I've been doing it for years. I'll tell you more about it next week. So I'll leave that for next week. We're going to do different wrap options. So, and I'm not talking flour tortilla. I'm talking some other wraps. So give you some ideas there. And then we're going to do a nearly instant called salmon sushi bowl. And this is one of my favorite ones to do. I've taken it when I've gone on picnics and things like that. It's just so easy and delicious. So today we're going to do a sauce that only has one ingredient that most every chef knows how to make, but I'm going to show you how to make it without burning it. So hopefully. So we're going to do quinoa berry salad, which is delicious, and it's actually a perfect salad for the summer. You'll see it's like perfect for like 4th of July. It's got red and blue, and so it's great. Roasted broccoli. Roasting veggies, really important skill to have. So we're going to get that. And then nearly instant crunchy peanut bowl. So, okay. So I want to just take a pause. So in class here, I've given out a action sheet, which has action steps, just so that you guys know at home, action steps for this week so that people can think about and check off what they want to do this next week, and they can write in their own something else. We haven't done the lecture yet, so I'm not expecting you to do the action sheet. But the other thing on the action sheet that I brought in new is I have there the learnings from the last week. Now, this is not taking notes for this class, okay? I had one class that interpreted it that way, which is great, learnings from my presentation. But I really want to start building the habit of you reflecting over what you've done and figuring out what works, what doesn't, and it's all learning. It's all good stuff. We tend to kind of label things as successes or wins, and I don't want to do that. Everything, yes, please, everything's a win, but we tend to have a mindset as to what that means. So I'm going to call it learnings. So if you can just take a moment while I'm getting started here to think about, what did you learn last week? Did you try out conversations you had, thoughts you had? You noticed a craving, or you noticed having craving less. You noticed that you didn't even think about going to a restaurant that you drove by, or, but just being aware is always your first step. And that a lot of times that is something that you just sit with for a while, and then you move into what do I want to try out. So take a moment to think about the learnings, and if you're comfortable, go ahead and share with the class here, because we all learn from one another, what your learnings were from last week. And anybody can chime in from at home there too.
Stay away from these breakfast bars.
Okay.
And when I get away from those, then I go to toast, and I know that isn't real healthy. So I eat a lot of broccoli and cantaloupe for breakfast. It's very, I wanted to ask you about these. My son, who's very health conscious, doesn't want me to eat these, but they're sort of, and I do eat oatmeal too.
Okay. So, awesome. Well, Kathy was sharing that she's trying to get away from the Kind breakfast bars, and they do a very good kind of marketing. I will look at the label before I give you my opinion. I don't want to, they can be changing things. There's different, sometimes one product in a line will be something that I'll go thumbs up, and then other products I won't. So I always want to look at the label, and we're actually going to do label reading in just a moment. So that'll be perfect. So, but she's doing broccoli and cantaloupe in the morning. How are you? I want to know how you feeling. Like, are you noticing a difference, the Kind bar versus how your energy and your hunger is kind of developing throughout the morning and the early afternoon?
Yeah, I'm feeling better. You know, I have
Okay.
basically food left over from last night's dinner, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
A lot, you know, a lot of it. But yeah, I'm feeling better about myself, and I feel better inside.
Okay, Kathy said she feels better with this change and feels better inside. So I love, those are great learnings. I'd love for you to take a moment to put those down. Awesome. So great. So, and she said she's trying, you know, working at oatmeal too. So those are all great options. Again, there's no one thing that is your ultimate. All these things are good. So other learnings. Yes, Vicki.
We didn't have salmon, but we used tilapia
Yes.
to use the recipe, and it was very good.
Oh, she tried tilapia with the wine and lemon seared.
Well, it didn't have wine, but.
Okay, so we did lemon. You did that cleaning the palate.
You got red wine instead of, not red wine, red. I guess instead of the wine you used.
Okay.
Very good.
Oh, red vinegar instead of, oh my goodness. Well, these are combinations I would have never thought of. So I love it, Vicki. So did you write that down as something that you want to like start writing into your rotation? So for, you know, we want fish twice a week. So that's golden that you found something that you, both you and your husband, is that he liked it too? Oh my goodness. Awesome. Awesome. We've got other people coming in. So if you hear some noise, we're filling up the room. I love it. So great. Yes, go ahead. Grab any of those chairs there, squeeze them in. So other learnings there. I don't see, you know, Christy, if you want to jump in, you can, or Leroy. Nope. Okay, that's okay. So for those that are stepping in, we're just sharing our learnings, and you'll notice on the action sheet, I have a place for learnings from last week to reflect and just start. Guys, this is not about, you have to fill all the blanks either. I just want you to take a moment to reflect. There's one thing that you can think of from last week, just your change in thinking, your awareness, looking at labels, you know, shaking different spices on, anything like that. Just starting to move forward with the baby steps. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. Oh, so I sent out the big why video as a link. You don't have to do that, but that's something to think about because, you know, this is a health journey, and I want you to keep in mind something that really is going to propel you and keep you moving forward. Why are you doing this? So you can feel great, you can live fully your best self out in life. That's for me. That's why I do this. That's why I'm always looking ways to improve and feel better in a delicious, fun way. Are you wanting to, you know, travel? Are you wanting to play with the grandkids? Or be engaged with your grandkids, and or graduations or weddings you're thinking about down the line, 10 years down the line or whenever. So what is it, you know, whether you achieve, you know, go that direction or not, but I want you to think about what is this really giving you? It's giving you delicious food that's going to give you better health. So Christy had shared that she's having her first baby in November. So she's got big reasons there. So, and then that will continue on, of course. So, you know, just keeping that big why in your mind. So that video there just kind of gets you thinking along that lines, because a lot of times we go out of the doctor's office and he or she is saying, you know what, you need to change your thinking because we're thinking, change your diet because you know what, there's blood pressure or diabetes or something like that. And yes, those are important things that we want to improve on. But usually that's not enough to propel us, like keep us going for 20, 30, 50 years, okay? So, let's see. Okay, I want to dive into a little more of what our topic is for today. So, now, how many of us don't know that we need to eat more vegetables. Okay. Now, for most people, my point is for most people, the problem truly isn't what changes we need to make, but how to make them stick. How to make them autopilot in our lives. A quote by BJ Fogg, and he's, I took a behavior change course from him. He's a professor at Stanford, and he says there is just one way to radically change your behavior. Radically change your environment. We want to create an environment that favors the habit that you want to take place. I don't know how many of you have read James Clear. He's a big guy, guru out in the behavior change. He's a journalist. He writes really well. And he calls this priming your environment. So let's take it to a different area that you're probably very familiar with. If you want to encourage your child to read more, or your grandchild to read more, what do? You read with them. What else?
Buy them books.
You buy them books. You take them to the library. You check them out. You get them a card. Stuff like that. Yeah. So you maybe make a nice reading area in their room. Give them a comfy chair, a little bookshelf, things like that. You make it so easy and attractive to read. Yes, Bonnie.
For grandson to read at night. He would want to play with his toys in his room. He has no toys. He just has books.
Oh.
Now that's where he focuses.
Oh.
He goes to his toy room. It's fun.
Okay, so Bonnie said her grandchild that they don't have the toys in the bedroom, but they have a reading area. So just stuffed animals. So
all the stuffed animals out. You read.
Reads to them.
Yeah.
if you want to sleep better, what are some things that we often do?
Keep your room cool.
Keep your room cool. Where's that phone go? Off the phone, out of it. Mine charges in the bathroom. So maybe, the lights turned down. Anybody do that? I have those glasses that are yellow. They look very funky, but I put those on about an hour before. So sometimes you set a get ready for bed alarm. So, but these are all things that you're organizing your environment so it's easy to do the desired action. And at the same time, we try and make it hard to do the things we want to cut down or out, do less often. Kind of like Bonnie said, we make the toys, out of the bedroom. So we do this by increasing friction is what it's called in the behavior change world. So we create more work to do the things we don't want to do. Okay, so let's try some examples. So we're going to apply this priming the environment, increasing friction. So if we want to eat less, do we serve food on bigger or smaller plates? Smaller. If you go from a 12-inch to a 10-inch, you save usually 22% of your calories. Just doing that. Okay, if you want to stay away from junk food in the house, which answer, A, B, or C, will create the most friction? Put the junk food on the counter. Put the junk food out in the garage. Or put the junk food in the storage room where you need a ladder to get to it. Okay, I'm serious, guys. Okay, if you're going to have it in the house, if you got others that are, that you negotiate with and allow them to have their junk food, you've got young adults oftentimes or other housemates, then you just need to make it somewhere that it's out of your environment. You got to make it hard for you to get to. Okay, let's try another. If you want to avoid eating chocolates at work that are in a dish near you, what creates more friction? Putting them out of sight in a drawer out of reach, moving them 6 feet further away, or just leaving them? Which one creates the most friction? Hardest to get to?
6 feet away.
Well, yeah, 6 feet away, we actually find 6 feet is a magical, you eat half as much. Okay, it's just too much. You have to get up and take a couple steps. So that's great. For some people, even keeping them out of sight. Keeping them out of sight because you're not thinking of them. So either of those are good. Sometimes you have to negotiate in a work environment. So you can at least get it 6 feet away. You're going to save yourself.
Bins, the clear bins.
Yes,
And all the ones that I didn't eat are in the front.
yes,
And my husband eats them.
yes.
So that way I don't see them when I open.
Don't see them. It makes, even though you know they're there, Google has redone all of their environment. I've read about they call it choice architecture. And they have mini kitchenettes. And they have clear glass on the top with the water bottles, and then the sugar juice and stuff is on the bottom with it's not clear there. And the workers will say, we're no dummies. We know the sugar's there, but we reach for the water more often just because we see it. And they put fresh fruit on the counter bowls in these little kitchenettes. So because when they're making coffee, they have little coffee things. They have already figured out how long it takes to make the average cup of coffee. And they want to make it hard to get to the less than healthy treats for their workers. So, okay. So one more. If you want to make meal prep easier, do you? Now thinking of the friction and priming your environment, A or B, okay? A, assume that when you get home, 1 hour before dinner time, with lots of energy left, you'll be motivated to use that hour to make the entire meal. Or 2, find out when your mental energy is the highest for you. Maybe after dinner is done and cleaned up, do meal prep, or first thing in the morning with that first cup of coffee. Or maybe on the weekend, early Sunday afternoon, where there's no pressure. Which one is going to make meal prep easier?
Sunday afternoon, no pressure.
Sunday after, Darlene says Sunday afternoon, no pressure. So you find that's when your mental energy is going to be the highest, the pressure is off. So find that time. Most of us are just having these good intentions of in the evening, I'm going to make this new meal that I saw Teresa make. No, okay? A whole full dish that the ingredients are new, make it on the weekend when the pressure's off. Or make it, sometime when the pressure's off. And when do you do meal prep? Do you do meal prep after that you've cleaned up, or at least serve the meal, done with the meal for that night? Some people, that's a great time. They just want to relax and they do the meal prep. Then they think they make the grain for the next day. They chop up things for the next day. It feels relaxed.
I do mine after lunch.
You after lunch, Bonnie says. Okay. So some people in the morning just doing a couple things. The cool thing is most of these whole plant foods, they just take like 5-10 minutes to prep, and then you can let them sit all day. And then you can just whip it together at night when your energy is gone. So, okay, let's get going with some more tips on the PowerPoint. And I assume you guys are seeing up there. I didn't even double check there. You seen the PowerPoint there? Oh, good. Okay. So if you keep good food in your refrigerator, you will eat good food. Makes sense. That's going to take some baby steps for some of us to get that food in there. When you think, I don't know what I'm going to make, then do you have the ingredients that you start to think, oh, I've got jarred red peppers. I've got some tomato paste. I've got some shredded carrots. You start putting, I've got some scallions, and I'll tell you today how you can make scallions so that they're available 24/7. So just, what things? Oh, I've got some nutritional yeast. I got some nuts. So I've got some reduced balsamic. All those things can go together for different things. So, okay, how many food decisions do you think you make a day? So they've done studies on this. So how many food decisions related to food, like what you're going to make, when you're going to eat, those kind of things?
3 times.
2 times? Okay.
20 times.
Yeah, let's go higher.
Each meal.
Okay, 219. 219 we're making. Most of us are, because we haven't planned out the day. And we're thinking, and then we're thinking about when we need to eat. We haven't really thought through, planned out the dinners for the week, or breakfasts or lunches, or, when I'm going to have them, how much. And I'm not saying that you need to micromanage this, But 219 is a lot of decisions, and most of us are using that like, oh, should I eat now? Am I hungry? Or what about, am I gonna have time later? Or where am I gonna be? And what should I have? And that's with that person, but they're gonna want that. So then we're making all these decisions, and you're draining your decision tank. You have a tank at the beginning of the day. And so I want you to use those decisions for other things and not drain it so much with the food decisions. So now, what if you had things like, like I'm alluding to, these things that make it easy to make, breakfast that's, you have eggs and egg whites, and you have oatmeal, and you have fruit, and you have green tea, and for lunch you have leftovers, and you have beans, and you have fish, and wraps, and artichoke, and sliced fresh turkey, and hummus, and for dinner you've got sauces and spinach and whole grains and reduced balsamic, and snacks you've got fruits, nuts, hummus, hard-boiled eggs, popcorn, dips, veggies. Okay, now I know you might be hungry now. So these are just all the different decisions, mental decisions that we make, and that we can help ourselves go towards things that are going to give us, that are delicious, and are going to give us the health that we want. I'll do that after we're off. I want to do the food packages. Okay, so the number one thing that any behavior expert is going to say is the environment. You have to look at your environment, and I want you to start looking at it differently from some of the things that I'm going to talk about today. So let's break it down to zones. So there's 4 zones that it's easy to talk about the kitchen and just kind of categorize it. So refrigerator, freezer, pantry, countertop. The most important one, refrigerator. Okay. So now the refrigerator, this chart, you've got that. This is kind of from the 1950s. They created refrigerators about then, and they kind of were thinking food safety. They weren't thinking food psychology at all. So, you put on the top, usually your drinks, your dairy, your leftovers, and maybe sprinkle some on that second shelf. The bottom shelf before you get to the drawers is where the raw food goes. And then the shelves, we have the different humidity for the fruits and vegetables. Okay, sounds great, but I want to actually change that up. What we find is that when people are asked to pick one food from the refrigerator, they usually go to the center or the top. Those foods, their eyes are going to first. Those that are at home that are virtually with us, you're welcome to run to your refrigerator and open it and see where your eye goes first. I want you guys here to do that when you get home. Just open it and see where your eye goes first. What item? That is the place in your refrigerator that you just mark as like worth $3 million, okay? So it's the most expensive real estate in your kitchen because it's driving you to eat whatever is there. You've got to make a decision. Guys, you may not hear your brain going, no, thank you, but you are saying, yes, no, thank you, maybe later. You're doing that subconsciously. So you're forcing yourself to make these decisions, to pass on these things. So use that for things that you want to be eating. That's what you want to eat. They also did a study where they asked people just to take the food from their fruit and vegetable drawers and put them on the top shelf. Just switch around. That's all they said. And then they, after a week, had them record. And they found that they ate 3 times more fruits and vegetables just by that one change alone. Just telling everyone to put them on the top shelf.
Don't they kind of freeze though?
They could, but they found yes. So yeah, figuring out the temperatures in your, but I really want, usually it's not the top shelf. And it usually doesn't have to do with height. Taller people don't necessarily go right, like straight eye level in. It's usually that top, second, or third shelf on the right. It kind of depends upon which kind of you open, 2 doors, 1 door side, whatever. But look, so that is your most important real estate, wherever that is. Okay, so now this is actually my refrigerator, not right now. It was actually probably about 2 years ago during COVID. I know because I had all of the adult kids home. You see those salads on the top? That's when I have the adult kids. They don't like putting a salad together like I do. Okay, they like it ready to go bagged. Okay, but hey, if that's going to get them to eat salads, I'm okay buying those. Okay, so you can see there on the second shelf, we've got vegetables ready to grab. You can do them in baggies. I've started gradually getting some recyclable baggies because I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm filling up landfills with my baggies. And then I have little plastic containers. Oh, I have it back in my office. I don't think I have any here. They're really, oh, I'll show you them actually, the next one. You see these small ones, the blue ones on the right, they are pretty small. You know, they can hold squished a half a cup. So I know they're tiny. So sometimes I'll put 2 containers with whatever it is in there. And then I do have some bigger ones for salad. You can see on the bottom there. But my point is they're cheap. They're clear. Clear is the best to put things in. Yes, it would be nice if I could afford glass, but kind of the baby food jars, not baby food, for making homemade baby food, the jars are wonderful. They're super thick glass. They don't break when you drop them, but they're expensive. So I've got a few of them, but I have like 50 of these plastic ones with the blue lid because they're super cheap. Like they come in 6. And they end up in kids' rooms with ponytails in them and different things. So, and I'll run out of them and say, kids, check your rooms. And then I'll get back like 10 or 15. So, but I need something there. So, and I do different things. You can see I've got the veggies there. Right now, actually, my daughter got on this organizing kick, my 8th grader. And so we got some from Aldi's. They had some containers, plastic pull-out containers that were super reasonable. Tuesday mornings, I guess they're going out of business, but they have also some containers that aren't too expensive. Walmart sometimes does. I've also had people that have gotten clear shoe boxes and just take the lid off and put them in there and you can pull them out. So, and it's really nice to have it because then you can stack several ready to go for the week and then you just pull it out and grab them and go. So some things that I do here on the left, there's my oatmeal with my half cup measure. Now I know oatmeal comes in that big container. I know this is one of my anal things that I do. I just don't like it in that. I like it in a clear container and I like it. It's just quick. I put the half cup measure. I never have to wash. It's just there. So starting to put things that you want to eat more often, make it easy by assigning measuring spoons and cups that stay there. That way you don't have to wash them. And that way you don't have to think, is it like a 1/4 cup or a 1/3 cup that I use for this? Just stick it in there and leave it there. The middle one there, that's my trail mix that I make homemade. And then you can see I have 2 little containers ready to go. That's in my pantry. So if I'm like, I'm not sure where I'm going to get caught, I'm going to be hungry, let me just grab a couple of those. I may bring them home and just put them back on the shelf, but at least I've got them there and I'm not starving. And then I end up doing a drive-through or something else. So that's my go-to. Then on the right, that's a recipe that I make for a drink. So it's hot cacao. So it's cocoa that's a little less refined. But basically, I just took all the measuring spoons that I need for them and clipped them there to the bag. Again, start thinking. You got to make it quick. Even if it saves 30 seconds, it's more likely you're going to do it because that chip bag takes 15 seconds at most to open up and put your hand in. Okay, that's what you're competing against. So something can't take more than 20 seconds. You can't do a carrot, guys. A carrot, you have to get out the cutting board, the knife, the peeler. You're done. You're not doing it. Okay. When you're hungry, you're gonna want something done. And sometimes I'll just be at home and take one of my little containers and just eat them because it's ready. It's there. It's to go. So the other day I did a nice little experiment with my kids. I washed the blueberries and the strawberries and set them out on the counter. Guess what? They were gone by noon because I washed them. Okay. If sometimes I'll text and say, use up this and this in the refrigerator. Guess what? I'm the only one that uses it. So, but if I cut it up, put it out there. That's the cool thing about fruits and vegetables. They don't have to be refrigerated. They can sit for hours on the counter. So when you make them beautiful on the counter, others in the household will eat them too. So a lot of times I'll just wash grape cherry tomatoes and just put them, I have this beautiful yellow little dish and I'll put them out there and I'll just snack every time I go in the kitchen for my coffee. Just snack on a couple and I'll have them done. That's a vegetable serving. So it's just easy things. On the bottom right there, this is, we're talking about organizing the kitchen. You need to have the utensils you're using daily easy to grab. I've written actually a chapter in a culinary book on making home kitchens, and I had to think about New York style, tiny studio places to dream kitchens. What do you need to prep home cooking whole food? And you can do it with a tiny kitchen. Most of us have deep counters that we don't use all that space all the way back. And so you can actually, again, you just go to Walmart or Tuesday mornings or anything, or make your own with like a potting plant or a mug, you know, a beer stein that you picked up in Germany years ago. Just start putting utensils in it that you can grab back by the backsplash. So that way it's there, you can grab it easily and you're not stuffing a drawer that's 2 steps across the kitchen. So also measuring cups drive me crazy, like grabbing them and trying to dig for them. So I have lots of them and I have them in a container on the counter. That way when I'm cooking, I'm serious. It's not like I just have 1/4 cup. I've got like 3 1/4 cup measures. So I'll go through them when I'm cooking, when I'm on my go. So that's one thing. Just start thinking about how you can make it easier. So lettuce storage hacks. These are just some hacks there. There on the top left, if you do like a co-op, you're going to get beautiful lettuces that you have no clue what they're called or what to do with them. So you need to know if they're fragile or robust. If they're fragile, then you need to get the moisture off of them, wick them off. So we have the towel around it here, and I just put 2 different baskets there in the drawer to separate off kind of the different types of lettuces. So now if it's more robust, then we can do like the towel there. We can actually chop it up and roll it in the towel and put a rubber band around it and put it in the refrigerator. And then each night you can take out what you want and put it in a bowl in the refrigerator. So I'm just saying, these are things that you can do. Now, the apples there, the point I want to make there is apples are big ethylene offenders. Ethylene gas is what makes things go ripe. That's not bad in itself. But when you put apples next to tomatoes, you're going to get your tomatoes going really quick, guys. Okay? So apples, I usually put in the drawer. I don't put them out where I can see them, except for my 8th grade daughter right now wants to put them. I'm just like, please, okay, you get 1 container just to put them separate than everything else. So it drives me crazy because you don't want apples near other things. So I put them in a drawer typically, and I also put my lemons and my limes there, but I put them in thick freezer baggies. I have 1 for limes and 1 for lemons, and they'll be empty sometimes. I'll just leave them empty in there, and then when I go to the store, I'll put them back with lemons or limes. But you can still ripen a lemon or a lime with that ethylene gas. So that's why I put it in the freezer baggie in there. So, so those are just some things to think about. So freezer's the next zone. So freezer is great. Which is more nutritious, frozen or fresh? They're the same. They're the same because nowadays what we do with the frozen is they flash freeze it like in the field. So they're like keeping still, frozen, still the vitamin C and all the other vitamins in there. Now, when they flash freeze them, there's a slight cook. It's a very quick cook. So there is a little change, as you know, in the cell wall. I wouldn't use the word mushy, but it's softer. So we can't use it exactly the same way. But there's a lot of things we can use with frozen produce. So keep that in mind. You know, we can roast broccoli. Today we're roasting broccoli from raw, but you can roast frozen broccoli. Okay, there's just a lot of things you can do, and I use my freezer all the time for a lot of things. So here you can freeze things on a baking sheet. I a lot of times use a cutting board because it's smaller, it fits in my freezer better with a piece of parchment. I will freeze 1 tablespoon dollops of tomato paste. I have a little container with those frozen. I have beans because I didn't use a full can. I have those frozen. I have the pesto. You have pesto in week 5. Well, it used to be week 5, but it's in your bonus recipes. I made that the other day because I made the kale salad that you guys made last week, and I still had kale. So I said, what am I going to do with this kale? I'll make a pesto. I didn't have any basil. I still made it the recipe. Okay, I just put a little extra kale in for the pesto recipe that you have. So, but then I put it in ice cube size pestos, and then I flipped it out and put it in a container. And I add pesto to my marinara sauce. I add it to my eggs. I add it on bruschetta. I love pesto sauce. So frozen, just think about what can you have on hand in the freezing. You know, fish is great to have there. Trying to put things flat as much as possible is the best way to go, so we can put more and see what there are. Pantry is really about how do you think? these are some suggestions, and you've actually got a really great handout there with all kinds of suggestions of things to keep in your pantry. Okay. The coconut aminos, we're going to be using that a lot instead of soy sauce. Rice vinegar is great to have in there. Balsamic vinegars, seasoning, of course, all kinds of herbs and spices, jarred red peppers, things like that. Quinoa, we're going to use that today. The nuts and seeds, I do, once they're open, put them in the freezer, except not peanut butter, but like, and not tahini, but like, walnuts and sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. I put those in the freezer once I open them. I do not with pistachios, because I go through those pretty quick. So, okay, so think how you think. Do you think in cuisines like Mexican, Asian, spicy, or do you think dry, wet, bottled? However you think, that's how you should organize, because you need it quick. There's no one right way to do this. However you think when you're going through a recipe, that's how you want to organize. Okay, countertop. So first of all, this is wrong. This picture here, it looks pretty, but you don't put the bananas in there with the apples. Okay, so, the bananas are going to ripen very quickly. So that's why you have the hooks there. In your pretty kind of arrangements. It's not to like make it look pretty. It's to get it away from the other things so it doesn't ripen as quickly. Okay. So, and apples, I usually just keep them away from, unless I want it to ripen. So, and somebody in class once is like, well, that's why the tomatoes always keep going. Yeah, if you have them next to the apples, they're going to go. So, I usually, I do have a two-tiered, and then I put my bananas off on the right, and I have my onions and my avocado and my mango and my kiwi, and sometimes it spills over in the two. So, but they're back by the backsplash. So, make them so they're visible is important. Okay. So as far as tools go, basically start thinking about what tools are you using almost daily. Okay, in other words, several times a week. Those need to be in those, like something on the backsplash. Now, if you have a dream kitchen, then think about where you do the prep, okay, where you're chopping your veggies. It's usually to the left or the right of the sink. And that drawer right there is where you could. But here's the thing, what I see a lot of people doing is they stuff that drawer. Oh, that's not good, because I don't know how you are. I can't get through things and everything shoves to the back. So you need to keep things so you can easily see it. Just because it's a drawer doesn't mean you stuff it, fill it. Okay. So between whatever drawer that is and your backsplash, where you have the mugs or the, I'm talking those clay pots that you put plants in, you can use those to put utensils in. You could decorate them. You could do a project with a grandchild or something. So there's just a lot of different ways that you can make things that accessible. So those are the things you're using several times a week. Then if you're using it once a week to a little less than a week, that's what you can have 2 steps away from your prep area. Okay, that's where you can put those things. Now, something that you're using less than once a week, truly, that should not be in the kitchen, or you have to get a chair to get to it. Really. Okay, I have some stuff in my storage room. I don't have a tiny kitchen, but I don't have a huge kitchen. And I do have a lot of ingredients. So I have cubicles in one corner that I've shoved in there. So I have several different areas there, and pull out baskets and stuff. So, because I have a lot of things. It's not gadgets, more ingredients. I have a lot. So, but just think about those things that you're not using regularly. They need to be out of sight, and they need to not be in the prep area. It's going to slow you down, guys. You're diluting. Think about diluting. You're diluting the good stuff. The good stuff is the stuff that you're using every week. The spatula, the peeler, the stirrer, the ladle, just think about what those things are. And I do recommend thinking about, if it's been a while, you can just like Saturday morning, put everything on the kitchen table, or take a tablecloth and put it on the carpet, and put everything in the kitchen on it, and go through it and check. Does it need to be tossed out? Go to Goodwill. Do you have 3 peelers you didn't know about? Does one of them not even work?
That's what I've been doing.
Yes. Peelers are blade. They go dull, guys. So if they're not working, then you need to let them go. So I have had people that will do that. They will go through everything because it's time to go through and figure out, let things go. I helped my mom move to her new house after my dad passed, and it was atrocious. Poor thing. She had all this stuff from my great grandma in the kitchen that she never uses. I mean, not even now at Christmas. I mean, she doesn't. So once upon a time, I do remember her using those, but she doesn't now. I'm like, Mom, get these out of the kitchen. Okay, these are diluting. They're slowing you down. That's why it's taking you so long to cook meals. So you got to have what you're using regularly in your site, in your area there. So, okay. So action steps. So just take a moment while I'm going to ask that those people at home that you go to your kitchen and grab a product with a label. Okay, so no fresh fruit. So grab a product with a label because we're going to go quickly through label reading. I want to make sure we get that today. So just start looking at your action steps there. Are you going to rearrange your refrigerator? This would be by the end of our class. I want you to start experimenting, test pilot. Just call it a test pilot, guys. I know some of this is scary, like rearranging your refrigerator. That is scary stuff. So just do it as a pilot test. Tell everybody in the household, we're doing a pilot test. I'm going to see if this makes a difference in what I eat. Yes, Bonnie.
When we start doing it, our app, we have the his and hers.
Uh-huh.
Shelf.
Ah.
He can find everything that he wants. I can find my things. And so it's not intertwined.
Ah.
We have kind of like a his and hers together.
Okay, his and hers. Well, find out where your eye goes first and you get that, Bonnie.
Yeah.
So,
A question about
yes.
the arrangement of the fridge. because,
Yes.
I never put fresh produce ever on the top. I put it below in the crisper drawers or on the next shelf. And so like saying I saw your refrigerator and you have all the some more information about how that works. I mean, like if you came home with 6 zucchini,
Yeah.
would you put those in the crisper drawer or would you do something with them? I don't get it.
Right. Okay, that's great to think about. You want what is ready to eat that you want to eat,
Okay,
that's
that
fruit
was-
and vegetables to be in those areas
So
there.
like your carrots you have cut up or your broccoli things.
Ready to go. Yes.
Yes, and those can go
Yes.
but in containers.
Yes. Yes. I put the containers, baggies, or pull out there, short thing. Yes. So what we want to do is those things like takeout foods from Texas Roadhouse, we want to put in completely blackened containers in the back. So we forget about them and they go bad. Okay.
You
So-
can box them up and leave it at the table. That's what.
Yes, yes.
Like.
So start that you want to make sure you go through your fruits and vegetables. Now, for the most part, when you start doing the things from this class, don't worry about the humidity. That's what those things were created for. You have the humidity
Yes.
markers there, guys. That's hogwash, really, when it comes down to it, with how you should be going through fruits and vegetables so quickly. That doesn't have any meaning. Okay. So now when I do my shopping on Saturday morning, Aldi's and then Walmart, I come home and I know what I'm going to make on Sunday bulk. So that will go in the drawers because I know I don't need to see that. That's going to come out when I'm making my winter sweet crunchy salad or my green goddess salad or whatever I'm making, the kale apple Dijon salad or the sweet cauliflower salad when I'm making that bulk for there. And then on Sunday, I will make my little roasted veggie containers and I'll make those and put those in the visible area. I might peel carrots and put them in baggies and put them in the visible area. I might put little things of dressing that I've made and put them there so I can grab the dressing and the veggies. And I have the go-to individual containers of the salads. So my bulk salads by the end of day Sunday, those are in the visible area there. So my tofu, when I saute that and possibly marinate it, that is in my visible area because when I'm thinking, what should I add to this? I want to go, oh, let me cube up the tofu and just put that in this bowl. So
Very revolutionary because I have like a super organized kitchen and I have all the stuff, at the ready and the big pantry. this refrigerator thing, I've just never done it.
We want to encourage you to
Yeah,
eat
I can see that, yeah.
the things that are going to bring the health that you want.
Yeah,
So make it easy, and we are visible eaters. Even test out the whole trick of putting the bowl of cherry tomatoes. Just if you just start there, and you'll eat it. So you eat it. So the refrigerator is very key. We find it's like a cultural thing that we go when we're thinking we're bored, when we're like, I need something to eat to distract me, or maybe I'm hungry. We tend to go to the refrigerator and just open it. I've caught my kids many times just sitting there.
Stand in the refrigerator.
It really is culturally. It goes across different countries too, guys.
Yeah.
So it is something we do. So let's take advantage of that, because we do it. You don't usually stand there at the counter. You go to your refrigerator and go, what do I feel like? So it has to be something that's ready. If you go, there's nothing there, well, maybe you'll start thinking, but if you've got potato chips that you know are over in the pantry, you're going to go for the potato chips if you don't have something ready here. You don't have something that you quickly put together.
and
So,
the apples you keep in your crisper drawer, but separated from these ones.
yeah, just so they don't go back. Because
You don't put them ever on the counter? It's like.
my kids like them cold.
Like,
So
I was gonna like cold.
they can go they can go room temperature. They can.
They
So,
can,
yeah,
just as long as they're not in the same bowl with the bananas and the kiwi.
yeah, they can.
Oh, we
They
did
can.
like that.
I think
Yes.
you look better with the bananas, right?
Yeah, the bananas and I take the apples, yeah, away from there. They
The
can go.
apple should be by the, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So
You keep the lemon lines with you close the zipper.
I do, yeah.
Okay, so
So, okay, great question. So, okay, let's see. So we've got our product. So everybody have a product there. So, first thing is the front of the product is a standstill commercial. Thousands of dollars were spent on this trying to get you to put it in your cart. So there is some regulation, but very little, and they get away with a lot on the front. So just ignore it. So go to the back or the side where you've got the nutrition facts and the ingredients. There's 5 things that I look for. Only 5. That's it. Okay. I want to make this easy because it can be so overwhelming. First thing I look at is the serving size, only because I want to say, is that really realistic? Is that how much I'm going to intake? So, and you might need to take it up a little bit or take it down some. But give a feel. Is this approximately what I feel like I'm going to be eating? And then if you compare it to another product, you want to make sure they're the same. There isn't regulation that they must be the same. They're much better than they used to be. They used to be in grams and ounces. It was crazy. So that's the first thing. Second thing, I look at saturated fat. Do not look at total fat. Remember, saturated fat is what affects your LDL, okay, and your triglycerides. So it's the saturated fat. We want no more than 10 grams a day. For all your snacks, drinks, meals, no more than 10 grams. That'll get us what the American Biology College recommends. So no more than 10 grams of saturated fat. You're going to find many things are like half 1 gram, and then you get one that is like 8, 11 grams. You're like, woo! So, but do definitely watch that. So the next thing go to is sodium. Sodium we talked briefly last week about, but sodium 1,500 for the full day, all your drinks, beverages, meals, snacks, no more than 1,500 if you have high blood pressure or on high blood pressure meds, 2,300 if you don't have high blood pressure. Okay, so if you're at the 1,500 in general, we say look at the calories and then you kind of want a 1-to-1. So if it says 330 calories and the sodium is 400, you're probably okay. But if it's like 700, it's like, whoa, okay, or whoosh, gotta watch that, okay? So it's just a kind of a general guide to think about. Then I usually actually jump to the ingredients list. I usually don't pay attention to the fiber or the sugar. Now, if you do like sugar, like you want to pay attention to that, I would pay attention to the added sugar and look at no more than 10 grams in a product, because if it's added sugar, not natural, then 10 grams means it's 2.5 teaspoons. Okay, now the recommendation is no more in a day for females than 6 teaspoons. 6 teaspoons comes out to 24 grams of sugar a day of added sugar, no more than totally. Okay, men 9 teaspoons, that's 36 grams of sugar, added sugar. That goes quick, guys, because sugar is in 6% of products on the shelves. So, oof. Okay, so what I really do usually ingredients, I start looking for the sugar there because your ingredients are listed by weight, not volume, by weight. So sometimes the first listed ingredient is water because it weighs the most in the product and it was added to it. Okay, you've got the tofu there. Water's probably number 1, isn't it? What is number 1? Soybean.
The serving size,
Ingredients. What ingredients? Can you read the ingredients list? It might be hard.
calories, 50,
Ingredients.
oh, the ingredients, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry.
it's okay.
Soy milk.
Soy milk, so the soy.
Oh, water too, yeah.
Yeah.
Soybean.
Yeah. So they have water. So by weight,
Yeah.
that's top. For sugar, I'm looking the top 3 to 5 ingredients. If it's the second or third ingredient, whoa, that's a lot of sugar in that packaged product. Okay. And now, if it's a long paragraph list, then maybe the 5th ingredient, I'm concerned. Okay. Now, there's 61 names for sugar on labels. So you're not going to see the word sugar all the time. You're going to see fructose, glucose, maltose, OSE. When it ends in OSE, that means it's a sugar derivative. If it's like evaporated cane sugar, if it's agave, if it's honey, that's all sugar, guys. Your body is going to, spike your blood sugar. It's sugar. So I'm looking quickly at the top 3 to 5 ingredients to see that. So that's the 4th. The 5th thing I look for is fiber, or really a whole grain source, because I want to make sure the 3 layers of the grain as Mother Nature made, that whole grain is there. So I want the germ, the bran, and the endosperm together. I don't want them stripped down to the enriched part, the endosperm, which has just carb pretty much. And then they'll throw back in some psyllium or something like that. That's not how Mother Nature made it, okay? So that will boost the fiber amount. That's why I don't really pay attention to the fiber, because sometimes they want to get the fiber up because they want to get that seal by the Whole Grain Council, okay? And that's not the way you do it, okay? Our studies with fiber were done with, that we have throughout the years, the last 30 years, were done with fruits and vegetables, not with added fiber powders, okay? So I'm going to look for things like oats, amaranth, farro, quinoa, 100% whole wheat, okay? So it's actually very tough to find a whole grain in a packaged product. Normally we have to separate it out, like we're making quinoa today. So you have to make it separately. Yes, Darlene. Yeah.
You said about the whole wheat and the
Yeah.
grain and those. What about those charts that tell you that it's against your blood type to eat those type of things?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of research to back those up. I know that's a trend, and I've looked at that. So I'm not, the only thing in that kind of realm of things that I think there's some credibility is that if we look at some of our ancestry, there are definitely tendencies. Some people handle rice really well, and other people don't. Some people handle bananas really well, other people don't. And that, if we look at it, it has to do somewhat with where your people came from, so to speak, but that's not blood type. So that's a little different. Let me see, I've got something here from one of our participants there. Can you speak into a microphone? I can barely hear you. Oh no. Can you hear me, Leroy? Christy, are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, we heard you. So Leroy, I don't know if you need to check your volume on your computer, or worst case scenario, just log off and back in. I am so sorry. So, okay, I want to get into our topic today, a little more about about your kitchen. So I want to talk a little bit about the knives here. And some of the tools I have here. What are these things? Anybody know what these are called? Steel rods, honing rods. So a big mistake people make is they tell me they sharpen knives, okay? They do make knives sharper, but they are not sharpeners, okay? There's a difference. These do not shave metal off your knife. That's the difference. What these do is, if you can think of your knife as it's as fibers of metal, kind of like a basket weave. It has the fibers. So when you're chopping, what happens is these fibers do this. See this? Those guys at home? It goes like that. So do you think that's sharper or duller? Duller. Yeah. It's a duller surface to be cutting on. So what we do with the honing rod is we realign the fibers of the knife. That's what we do. So that now we've got back our sharpness, but we didn't shave off. It's these that shave off, okay? These are sharpeners. So how do we hone? Either of these work perfectly fine. This is mine from home. This is this kitchen. So I like my Sentuco knife. This is a little smaller than a traditional German chef knife like this. It's a little lighter. You guys are welcome to see it. I just like it. I can handle it much better. It's a teeny bit thinner, the blade, like by 2 degrees, than a normal chef's knife. Still both very, very sharp. So when we sharpen this, we want about an 18 to 22 degree. Don't worry, you don't need to know that. All you need to do is hold this. A lot of times I'll have a dish towel, because when you first start, you might be kind of sliding. So put a dish towel down. 90 degrees, half that, half it again, and you're pretty close to 18 to 22. Okay, so again, just 90 degrees to the honing rod, half again, get the butt of the knife and pull it with even pressure, and do it like 6 to 8 times once you're up to snuff. Now, if you have never honed your knife, then you want to do it for like 2-3 minutes, but cut something first. So before you do it, so you see how dull it is, and then hone it for a couple minutes, and then cut, see if it got better. If it didn't get better, it's time to really sharpen it and shave off. This is the one for the German knife. It's swooshed off. You need to look with your manual for your knife. In general, this is a chef, a German knife. And this one has a coarse and a fine. You start with the coarse if you never sharpened your knife, and you pull it this way. You don't go back and forth with the German one. You just pull it like 3 times even pressure towards you, then fine, wipe it off, and then cut something again and see if it's better. Now for the Sentuco, this is called a Rolo. It's about $13. So this one you go both directions, about 6 times, okay? So just a little different there, but both that shaves off some. So I want you to think of sharpening knife. Here I have balloons here. If I pop this balloon with the sharp knife, that's like cutting your plants that you're cutting up, you're chopping with a sharp knife. Now, if I were to take a table knife, see how I'm pushing and destroying this? That's what you're doing. You're destroying, tearing at the plant cells. Now, you might, I'm being a little dramatic, but you really are doing that. And technically, they've done tests. You're losing some more vitamins because when you tear, it's not a big deal, but it's, you know, when you think about it, you're tearing the cells. It's going to cook a little differently. If you're a chef, this makes a big deal to you. And your vitamin, you're going to have a loss of vitamins some there. So, you know, having a sharp knife just makes sense. You can go faster, you can cut evener. So, and it's actually more dangerous to have a dull knife because you start putting pressure. Because when you have a sharp knife, you want to really shake it up tight. You're not back here. You're up here. You can put your thumb here or over here. Okay, don't put it down there. Okay, I kind of do like this. But when you break the surface, like of a tomato, you just break the surface and the weight of the knife should just like butter go through it. If it's a sharp knife, truly. It's just, it feels like you're just cutting like water almost. It just goes through it. But when you have a dull knife, you're like, okay, I'm breaking it. Okay, go, 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 go. Ah! You're pushing. You're using the push rather than just gliding with it. It's a very different feel with a knife when you have a sharp one. Yes, Bonnie?
You get the first ones you saw, the knife picks. So those there.
Oh, you get these garage sales, or I mean, A lot of people have them in their kitchen. They don't know it, or their grandmother, or they're not using it. So you can buy it anywhere. So, but there are so many sitting around in kitchens that aren't being used. I'm telling you. So, yes, Walmart, Target, yes. And both these are great. And these are older. You can see it looks kind of rusty, but and you don't feel it, but they actually have grooves. My finger is not sensitive enough to feel it. But both these are perfectly fine. This one looks a little wimpy compared to this one. Still works, okay? So you need a point. Oh, and great point, Bonnie, you helped me remember. How often do you hone? They say technically every 6 hours of chopping. So I generally recommend when you're doing your bulk prep once a week, just hone it then. I hone every time I prep because I just do a lot, and you can't over hone. It's not like you're gonna like whittle away the knife, okay? So it's partly habit. But for most home cooks, when they do bulk once a week would be enough, okay? Because you're going to be doing a lot more chopping, okay? This is the most important knife in your kitchen once you start going whole food plant-based, because you're going to be doing 90% of your cooking, of your cutting with this. So
What kind of knife do you prefer as far as this bite?
this is a Mac. It's a Maxim Tuco. I don't keep up with knives, but I love this. This is made in San Francisco. I know the guy that runs the company, so I like this. So, but I know there's a lot of knives out there. There's different types, ceramic, Japanese, this and that. But you got to find one that you like, that's sharp, that can get sharp enough that it should cut a tomato just like, oh my goodness, when it cuts it, it's just so pretty. When you feel that cutting through instead of okay, I squished it, shoot. It should hold its shape.
You have to go through the tomato and then go down.
No, you should be able with the tomato make paper thin slices. You really should with a good knife. You should be able to make really like 1/8 of an inch slices on your tomato. So without a problem. So, okay. The other thing I do want to talk about is going quickly in the kitchen. The easiest way to go quickly is you've got your prep area here, usually near the sink. Typically, unless you have a wastebasket right here, you want a discard bowl, because when you're cutting produce, you've got a lot of stems and leaves and stuff. So I just grab a bowl, put it there. I'll usually do discard prep. I'll rinse it out, and then I'll cut it up, and now the cut up goes in there. I don't even wash it. I just rinse it. It's plant stuff. So, but you go left to right, typically, because most of us are right-handed. You put the raw over here. You can put your spices and your ingredients up here if you're actually assembling a whole dish. But you have your discard there. You chop, 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 and the finished prep goes over here. If you're a chef, you have a station. Raw, prep, send to the next station here. So if you want to go super quick, you want to make a recipe, maybe you're making 2 to 3 times of the recipe too. So you want to line up things that are 1 teaspoon. Line up things that are a quarter cup, and you line them up. You get everything out before you start, because especially if we're like tired, we end up looking at the recipe 20 times. What was that? Oh, I can't remember. Was it half a cup or 1/3 cup? So you're going back and forth. This way you put the measuring cups and you just put it behind, and you can go quickly then. So I've done that when I've had to go like make 3 of a recipe and stuff like that. I just put the measuring there, line up what the ingredients are at that level, and then I just look at the recipe and I can go quickly. So it's called mise en place too. It's supposed to be French. I'm sure it doesn't sound French to a French person, but it means everything has its place. You get prepared before you go. So it's a culinary concept that's very well regarded in culinary school. So, okay. Now it's time for us to get going. So let me see. I had here my prep. See, there it is. Okay, we want to do quinoa. Let's do the quinoa. Quinoa, let me get that going. Let me get my gloves, because we're going to get going. Oh, let's get the broccoli in, because we want the broccoli to be done so we can taste it. So let me grab the broccoli there. Yes. Okay, perfect. Let me grab this. So broccoli. So we're going to roast it. Roasting is caramelization plus. Caramelization starts at 330 degrees. Oh, can you grab my visor-ish thing? It's in the cupboard there, just the left side, bottom one, left side.
Goodness.
Yes. You see it there, yes. So caramelization starts with taking starch, anything with sugar or starch, and turns it into caramelization. So that's going to be corn, carrots, tomatoes, and red peppers, things like that. broccoli doesn't have much or any starch, sugar. Brussels sprouts doesn't either. So we want to get it high. So we got 425. We want to go through the caramelization because we're really not caramelizing and get to the end of caramelization, which is aromatics. That's hundreds of compounds that are savory. So that's what we're doing with broccoli. We're getting that dark brown, almost looks black and burnt. Anybody know what I'm talking about? That's the best part. Okay. Yeah, we want to get that. So, and Brussels sprouts the same way. I only eat roasted Brussels sprouts for the most part. I'm starting to figure out some recipes I like that aren't roasted.
Mashing them and then cooking them like that. They're really good.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, my mom boiled them to death and put salt. That was it. It was,
I know.
so, okay, broccoli. So broccoli loves cold. It can go in the back. It can get frozen. That's okay. Okay, a damp paper towel is best on it. It likes a lot of moisture there. It doesn't need to be in a baggie. When we cut it up for roasting, there's a couple things we want to pay attention to. We want to pay attention to the height it's going to be on the baking sheet. The height, because we want the heat to hit all the florets evenly so that we get them all browned the same. If we have all different sizes, and some are going to be brown, some aren't. So I typically use more of the stem than I do with florets. When we're doing florets, we will like things to be nice and pretty, and we just get the top little bit there. For roasting, I like to grab onto something, and it tastes good to the stem, too. I don't really just want the florets. We can get bigger, robust pieces. So I will usually kind of think half an inch. So I do like this. So when I get a piece like this, you see how this is all together? I like that. Here's what I do. I go like this. Oh, can you guys, I got to switch my camera. So there, I'm like, you guys can't see. I got to switch my camera. Okay, device, where's device settings? There we go. Room camera. Here. There we go. Okay, you should be good. So now I've got this chunky thing. So I might take a little off there and then take this into two pieces, but I still keep that like that. So here, I'll take a little off there. But again, I'm not trying to go up to the little florets that we do a lot when we're doing salads and things. I want a little more robust piece here. So here we go. I'm just getting a few more pieces. And let's see, I don't think I measured out. I put a teeny bit of olive oil here before. A lot of times with my roasted veggies, this is my trick. I just take it in my hand like this. I just want a little bit there, So I just do this. You can roast without adding oil. It usually tastes about the same, honestly, but I like a little oil. Okay, olive oil is good for you. And you need to absorb vitamins A, D, E, K. You need a little oil, okay? So then we're going to put them on the pan here. I've got one already. You see how I spaced that out nice? So we're going to try and do that here. I don't have the little pieces. Don't take the little pieces out. I store them in a container, and then I'll add them to a marinara sauce or something. So because they're going to burn. They're just going to be a nuisance. So we're just going to get, again, if you want this perfect. Now, if you want, like Pinterest will just like take a bunch of veggies, throw them on the pan, take them out, and they say, oh, it's not all roasted the same. It doesn't work that way. Each vegetable is a little different with its water content. So it's going to go through roasting differently. You can do that, but I'm teaching you how, if you want everyone to be perfect, how you do it. I guarantee. So a little salt is okay. Remember? It's not evil. So I'm putting on the little dots, and then I'm just doing a little shake. I already shook that one. You could add a little mustard, where mustard actually helps some enzymes in broccoli cruciferous. I talk about that in the cancer class, but just know that mustard's great. Even if you don't taste it, it's a great thing to be adding.
Like mustard seeds.
No, just mustard, plain mustard powder. Actually, mustard is a cruciferous. A lot of people don't realize it's cruciferous. That's why it's got zinc. So all your cruciferous have that bite, that bitter bite. So mustard is actually the original one. All cruciferous come from the wild mustard flower. So 20 minutes. So thank you. So, okay, and another thing to have if you're doing a lot of prep is to have a towel so that you can just wipe it off into your discard bowl. So, okay, So we've got the broccoli going. Oh, here's broccoli. I want to show you another way. This is a Pampered Chef. I can't find a non-Pampered Chef that has the vents in the top because I don't add any water, guys. Watch this. Can you put it in 1:30? So another way that you can have broccoli. So the thing with vegetables is people will say, oh, I don't like that veggie. Kind of like I said with Brussels sprouts. I can't have them, like boiled, but I can have them roasted. I love them roasted. So there's different texture, there's different flavors, different ways that you have them. So, open mind, being that open-minded. Okay, quinoa. So we're going to do this. This is an amazing salad. So I want to get the quinoa going. Quinoa is technically a seed. There's white, red, and black. And white is the most mild. That's the most common one. I did see some tricolor in the store. Red's a little nuttier. Black's a little earthy. A half cup, they're just little seeds. So, and they roll over the counter and drive you crazy if you spill it. So a half cup has 5 grams of fiber and 8 grams of protein. It has 9 of the essential amino acids. The people in the Andes used to save it for the warriors, their quinoa, because it is so packed full. It's pretty close to a complete food. Okay, they thought it was like heavenly because it helped their warriors be stronger. So it's a ratio of 1 to 2. So I'm going to get the water boiling here real quick. So I have 2/3 a cup of water here. I have 1 cup or 1/3 cup of quinoa rinsed. You want to rinse the quinoa, even if it says it's rinsed, because it's just good practice. There's stuff that happens in the packaging or whatever, but there's saponin if it's not rinsed. It's a natural thing that's part of its warding off pests, and it will taste soapy to some people. So you just want to rinse it off. So I never even read the package. I just always rinse my quinoa. So we're going to put that in there for just 12 minutes. It's a whole grain, and it only takes 12 minutes from whole grain. It's not parboiled or anything. It's just from raw, 12 minutes. That's why it's such a great grain. If you put that on, by the time dinner's done with the rest of the things, it's done. So I'm just going to make that real quick. So while that's cooking, let's go ahead. Oh, yes. So watch how this turned dark green. See how that is? Beautiful. That's the bubbles burst near the edge again. Whenever that happens with your green, it turns darker green because the air makes it a lighter. This is darker. You can, a lot of times, if I'm in a hurry with the kids, I'll just put this in, put it on the counter, and then I'll put Parquet next to it. Now, Parquet is margarine, okay? For those at home, Parquet, or, it's not butter, but it's a spray. So it's just a little bit. So, if you want to do that, a little olive oil brushed on it would be great. But some people, it's like, oh, can I have a little margarine? Okay, just the spray is fine. So, but there's all different ways to have broccoli. We had the salad dressing last week that's for strong vegetables. You could dip that in raw broccoli, steam it, and then now we're going to roast it. Okay, so let's make some balsamic vinegar, the sauce. So we're going to make the reduced balsamic that goes with the quinoa there. So what I've got here here's the balsamic, okay? And what you want to do is we're going to reduce it to make it kind of mock the super expensive in Italy, a reduced balsamic, okay? So if anybody's been to Italy or brought you back a $30, $75 bottle of reduced balsamic, okay, that can be aged for 15 years, 200 years, okay? They switch out oak. It's kind of like winemaking, guys. So it's this whole process that they get the grapes and they reduce it, and then they put them in oak bins, and then every year they take 10% of an older one and put it with another one, and they keep doing that. So, but that's not what this is. This is wine vinegar with some of the must, the grape must. When they when they take the balsamic grapes and then they make a concentrate, it's called a must. They kind of reduce it down to about half. They just boil it, reduce it down to about half. It's called grape must, M-U-S-T. They combine that with wine vinegar, and that's what you have in this bottle. If you look at the ingredient list, it says, number 1, wine vinegar. Number 2, concentrated grape must. And that's it. Okay. All you got to do, this is about $5, is make sure you have grape must somewhere in the top couple ingredients. Okay. Then we're going to take this and we're going to boil it down to about 1/5 of the size, which is going to take off most all of the vinegar and make it sweeter so the sweetness is left behind. Okay, so we're kind of cheating. It's not going to be quite as good and complex as the expensive Italian ones that are aged for years, but it does a pretty good job. So now in the grocery store, you might see reduced glazed. Make sure you read it, because usually that's code for we added sugar. So just make sure anything that's reduced that you're paying for in the grocery store, they haven't also added sugar, okay? Because all we're going to do is just reduce this. That's it. So let's do it. Let's just do it here. So I already actually did all of this much, about 1/2 cup, and that's what it reduced to. Okay. So this is what it reduced to, guys at home. So about that much, other than the 1/2 cup I have in there. Okay, so it reduces quite a bit, but you'll be able to see how thick it is. It's not quite fudge. You don't want it quite fudge, but it's a little thicker than Hershey syrup. When you stop it in the process, which you'll see in a second, it's Hershey syrup. Okay, so it goes from water to Hershey syrup, and then it turns a little thicker. It always thickens, and this is the mistake I usually make. I'm like, oh, it's not quite thick enough. And I keep reducing. And then I take it off the heat, and I come back a 1/2 hour. It hardly moves. It's so thick. Okay? It will continue to thicken as it cools. I'm telling you. This one even, I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't quite do it enough. Nope, it's perfect. So you'll get to use that today. I actually have a squeeze bottle. I did a double size of this weekend for myself. And I have it in a squeeze bottle, and it's only about this far up on the squeeze bottle. Okay, even though I did a double size about this, but you only need a little bit, and it adds zing. And it's nice because in the squeeze bottle you can decorate, you can draw pictures, you can just add a little bit to a dish. So now to show you, just to give you, because we're going to kind of whiz through doing this, but I want you to understand how to do this. The trick is to get it going quickly down to at least half, okay? Because you and I probably are impatient. We don't want to sit there for an 1.5 hours to let a big bottle boil down. So you boil it, hard boil, and just keep it. You have the house open because it's going to stink to high heaven. Okay, you're evaporating off the vinegar. I have to tell my 8th grader to hide and close her door because she has a super sniffer. She does. She can tell me 5 feet away that I stink. So, and I don't smell anything on me. So she's like, Mom, you have BO. I'm like, what? So she just has a very strong smeller. So she hates it when I make this. She will eat it once it's done. So I open the windows, the doors, all that when I'm making it. So you get it to hard boil, and I usually will use popsicle sticks to tell me where I am. Now you can see this is like, that's how it begins. When it's boiling, you know it's going to bubble up higher. So the height, it'd be nice if the height would tell you. If it's reduced down, it usually doesn't tell you. It's how dark it is because it gets more concentrated as we go. You can see this one's a little darker. This one's just a little bit yet. And this one is when I stopped it. See how dark that is? Okay. So, and if we do this one now, if I do the finished product, it's going to be even darker.
So it's basically just one ingredient.
Yeah, one ingredient. So, and it's super great. You're going to add it. It's great on strawberries. It's great on asparagus, great mushrooms. Just a little zing. You're like, what do I want to add some zing to that? Reduced balsamic. I can do that.
Where
So-
do you get that?
Any store.
And
Yeah, reduced. No, it's called balsamic vinegar di Matadella. Well, it's the name of the grape. It's where it is in Italy. So, we're going to go ahead and just reduce this so you can see. Can you guys see that on the camera over there? Or do we need to go over here? Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, good, because this stove is so picky about, it won't let me actually cook that small pan over there. Okay. So we're gonna get that boiling and it's gonna go pretty quick. It's gonna go quick. So I'll need your help watching that. So, okay, we are done here. Wow. Okay, we are done with our quinoa. See, it didn't even take the 12 minutes, so we're done. So, okay, let me clean up my mess here. So, okay. I'm gonna finish making the quinoa salad because I actually have all the ingredients here. I actually made quinoa earlier. So that we have that. We have all our ingredients here. Ta-da. So, okay, here's my quinoa. So let me get a bigger bowl. I'm making a triple batch. So let me. Yes, okay, so we're getting that. It's just gonna go quick, I know. So, and the stove is so interesting to try and control. So, okay. Let me go ahead. I'm gonna fluff this up a little bit. When it's done, you fluff it up just a little bit. Another couple good things about quinoa, high in protein, high in fiber. It keeps for the week. Okay, you make it in 10 minutes, and you can make extra always. I always do it. For some reason, it always seems to make extra. I think I'm making a cup, and then it's like a cup and a half. But it is really well too, because everybody's always saying, "Oh, I'm only cooking for 1 or 2." Hey, freeze it in batches, and just you can use it for it'll be good for a couple months. So, or make it at the beginning. It's 10 minutes to make, guys. So make it for the whole week. So just take it. You'll start throwing it everything. I throw it in like salads, like with cabbage and kale and stuff like that, because it's a small, teeny little seedish thing. I throw it in wraps. I throw it in all kinds of things. It's gonna up the nutrition. It's gonna fill you up. It doesn't really have flavor. You got to add the flavor to it. So, okay. So we are going to add to this some really fun ingredients. So we're going to add the strawberries. So you see how this is a perfect 4th of July recipe? So you can use frozen blueberries too, but of course they're coming in season, so there's no reason to do that. Okay, there we go. So you can look at what Tanya's doing. So she's doing, I call it parting the Red Sea. So you can see how it's holding a little bit more than water. So we're almost there. I'm going to give it she's stirring it nicely. I have the advantage of having her there. So you do have to determine, hey, I need to stay here, and just bore yourself to death by watching it. Because the minute you go away to do laundry, you're going to burn it or thicken it, okay? So if you have a pretty thick pan, you may not burn it, but if you have a thinner pan, it's easy to, you got to keep stirring. So, okay, I don't want to burn this. So you're doing close, you close. Give it a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to add spinach. I want to point out spinach is one of those more delicate. So we have I put always right when I get home, I put the paper towel in there right away. Doesn't matter if I'm not going to use it for 2 days. So we're going to add in spinach. For elegance and flavor, we're going to add a little Parmesan. Yes, I know it has saturated fat, and I know it has sodium, but we're not adding a ton. We're adding a little bit. 1/4 cup for one recipe. And then some nuts. There we go. So stir that up. Look how beautiful that is. Look how beautiful that is. So look at that. Does that look good? Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and take it off. Just take it off, and then let's let it thicken. Let's do a little longer. Sorry. Okay. There we go. Okay. So let me just show you real quick here with this, especially for those at home. Let me just show you. I'm just going to drizzle this. See how you can draw with it? Isn't that fun? Make pretty pictures on the plate. So I'll let you guys put some on yours so you can add that and see that. But look how pretty. And this is a metal ugly bowl it's in, and it looks pretty. So, yes. Okay. So, zoodles. So let's do zoodles. We got a few more minutes. Start thinking about your action step. So what you're going to be focusing on, maybe organizing the kitchen, maybe a pilot test run in your, there you go. Yep, that's getting close. It's, that's a good saute pan. We're doing good. I'm just a tad longer. I know. We don't want. We were talking about this earlier, so, about not burning this. Let's see, power. So, okay, zoodles. So how many of you?
Can't be responsible for burning. No.
Well, I have the backup there if we burn it. So. Zoodles, how many of you made the zoodles before? Okay, nobody. Okay. The trick with zoodles is, first of all, don't use frozen. I've tried and only one time has it turned out. Okay. So I think that's because we can't, it's probably been thawed and frozen, or it's just really hard because your problem with that you're trying to avoid with zucchini is the moisture, is soggy noodles. So I have done some of them ahead, and so we have those here. But I want to show you how we do this and what I do to get them. Now, I did run into a little bit of an issue. They got pushed to the back of the refrigerator, so they froze. So not ideal. These were great zucchinis when I got them the other day. So, but we're going to go with it. I have done some preparation to try and get the water out. So, okay. So you just chop off. You do need, like, probably store-bought. Your homegrown zucchini are probably not going to work. You know, the fun shapes. They're just not going to zoodle with a zoodle spiralizer. So just, you need kind of thin, long. So usually we use, oh, there we go. That's it. That's it. That's it.
You can see that it's like, there's really not that much in there left.
Yeah. It's, like I said, it's like a fifth. You reduce it to it, not less. So we're going to go with the thicker one here. So whichever, usually I have two choices there. And we're just going to spiralize that. We do thicker because it gets more of the peel in there. Again, it's the moisture thing. So we just go down, 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 down. And the end of it, we can use it so that we don't cut our fingers if we want. So I'm just going to stop there because we want to keep going. So usually I'll chop it a little bit here because the long strings are a little hard to work with. So look at that. So nice, very nice. So that'll pick it up as we go too. So we'll check it out in a few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and start the zoodles. Like I said, the biggest thing with zoodles is getting them so they're not soggy. So one thing that I do is I put paper towels in the bottom here. I took the zoodles, put them here, sprinkled a little bit of salt. Why? To bring out the water. Okay, it's not going to be salt because then I'm patting it and getting off the salt and water. Okay, so a little bit. It's just a technique to help it. So, okay, so for this recipe, we're going to do a little bit of olive oil. Let me get ready. I have my garlic here, and we're going to chiffonade some basil. I have some scallions. I'll tell you how you can keep those like forever going. And just a little bit of just kind of a general table blend, the garlic blend or table blend I would use. This is a mild thing. I'm not even going to add the cayenne pepper because I want this to be a little milder with the garlic and the basil. So we're going to go ahead. Let's see. Let me get this heated up a little bit with the oil in there at the bottom, just a teaspoon. I'm doubling the recipe for 2 teaspoons. So we want to get that hot. And once that gets hot, then we're going to add the garlic and cook that real quickly. And then we're going to add the tomatoes. And the tomatoes here, this is one of my favorite gadgets. I don't do gadgets too much, but you're going to love this one. So let's see, I can actually wait to do it till we add them. So let's go ahead and add this. And it's actually not. Okay. So 20 to 30 seconds, remember, for the garlic, otherwise you burn it. So we're going to do 20 to 30 seconds, and I'm just going to go ahead and so there's my tomatoes, half. Oh, there we go. Look at those. Look at how pretty they are. So they just got the nice little tinge there. So we're going to take some of the moisture off of the tomatoes. For chiffonade, you stack the basil, kind of like, you know, the dolls that are bigger, smaller, smaller, smaller. So like that. And then we roll it, just roll it the long way, tight. like you're rolling a cigar. Yeah, I've never rolled a cigar, guys. Okay, so this is what I imagine rolling a cigar is like. Oh, helps you. Then you just do ribbons. Chiffonade is evidently ribbon in French. So we have so we're going to add our zucchini next. Chiffonade, making ribbons with the basil. So going to stir that up. So, okay. And scallions, so we're just going to do that like a minute. The biggest thing is all we're doing is really cooking through, like heating through the zucchini. We're not like cooking, like toasting it or anything. So we're going to finish off then with our topping there. With the scallions, so you want to store them fresh with a damp paper towel around them. You can just keep it sort of sealed, the baggie. It can be the bag it came in. Now, if you want to have these for all the time, let's go ahead and add and let's turn it down. Please give it about 30 seconds because the heat is so high. About a minute normally, but the heat is so high on this. So, and then it's done. So that's it. So see how quick? Go ahead and take it off because we don't want to overcook it. Because if you overcook it, it's soggy and you don't want that. So the scallions, if you take like kind of like 2 bunches, and we chop off this end about an inch or 2 off there, and then I always start with the green end because that's got the chlorophyll. That's got great stuff. Yes,
Is that a green onion or a scallion?
they're both the same.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the same. It's very confusing. So I always make sure I use the green part. Then I'll use some that taste the same. This is a little lower glycemic, and it's got the chlorophyll. Chlorophyll has a lot of extra protection stuff. So chop up like 2 bunches of those. Take a Parmesan shaker, your traditional Parmesan, shaker, the about this big, that's cleaned out. Clean that out. Put usually about 2 bunches chopped up will fit in there. Dry them first. Make sure just on a dish towel. Usually I let them dry a little bit. Put them in there. Put it in the freezer. And now you have scallions for whenever you need them. The trick is just take out the shaker, open the end that opens up a lot, and just shake what you need for your eggs or your bowl or for anything, even this, because it will very quickly thaw. By the time you eat it, it's thawed. But what you can't do is take that Parmesan shaker with the scallions and leave it on the counter while you're cooking, because it will thaw. Then you put it back in the freezer. Now it's going to be one big chunk. You've got to just quickly take it out, use what you need, shake it, put it back. And I have a shaker that I used for months. So I just keep refilling it. So with new scallions. So I always have chopped scallions ready to go. So
You have so many good ideas.
So it's so nice to know. It's like having these ingredients on hand when you're stuck. What should I do? What should I have? So these are so easy things to do.
How long does it stay in the refrigerator? Yeah.
Well, it's going to depend upon how fresh they are. So when they can be a little slimy on the outside, they're still okay. You just rinse that off. But if they're like the green is real wilted and then it's going. So it kind of depends on when you got to the store. You want that stem. Sometimes you want this. This is going to keep it fresher. More of this. When they cut that off, it's like, oh, now it's going to go quick. So, okay, last thing, super quick. I promise you, this one's so easy. So actually, let's see. Can you grab in the freezer? There's edamame, both bags. Grab both of them. So we're going to heat up the edamame just like 3 minutes. And the one shelled, we're going to use this one. I'm going to put this one shelled, no salt added. I'm just going to put it, I already read the bag. We're going to heat it up 3 minutes. We're going to do this for here, but this is in the pot. This is a great snack, guys, and you can get it at Walmart and like Costco in little snack bags. And my daughter eats it. I was so happy the other day when I saw in the outside freezer one of the little snack bags, and I brought it inside. And like 10 minutes later, she goes, "Mom, can I eat that edamame that's in the freezer?" I said, "Well, of course, yes." So, yes, it just makes your heart go pitter patter when you get asked to eat something like that. So But also, just know this is all about mindset. Okay, I have the greatest memories of edamame. Okay, I have been fortunate enough to have been to Hawaii multiple times. I was actually married in Hawaii. Like, I know I'm spoiled. So now we would go to Costco, go to the beach. We never did the scuba diving and all that, but it was a great treat. But the restaurant we always went to was called Roy's. Now they do have Roy's in the US now, mainland, but it's a place that's casual Hawaii style, but it has a real chef. Okay. So when you go there, instead of having chips or bread, they give you edamame with their secret spice. So while you're waiting for your food, and it's a place where if they don't have tofu on the menu, you can ask your wait staff, can I have the chef make me a special tofu dish? And they will. So we did that several times because my in-laws are Seventh-day Adventists. So tofu is a very big thing with them. Seventh-day Adventist is vegetarian, pretty close to vegan. So, so while you're waiting for this delicious food to be eating, you are tearing off eating in the pod edamame with this great spice on it. And you're just, this bowl is building up of the skins. But that's what you're doing. Now, it's an elegant restaurant, but it's casual because that's Hawaii style. So, so I have the greatest memories. And for years, I was looking for what is the secret spice, you know, because this was many years ago before we had internet like we do now. But they do now have it on the, you know, you can buy Roy's spice with their edamame and stuff. But for me, edamame is this great snack. It has great memories. Now, for you, you might be going, soybeans, Teresa. Oh. So, but it's immature soybeans in the pod. It's great fiber. It's great protein, just like we talked about. So, and you can add a little bit of rice vinegar, just a tad, like a teaspoon to like a serving of it, and it will add a little salty taste, just a little bit. If you have a real good, you know, sense to that. But that's a trick that a lot of Asians will do, rice vinegar, just a little bit, kind of brings out the natural saltness, because there isn't some salt naturally in edamame. So we'll try that. So if you can put that in for 3 minutes, then I'm going to grab this. So without the peanuts? Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. So we're going to throw this together. So this is so quick. We grab the broccoli slaw. So broccoli slaw you can get in any grocery store. So we're going to get that. You can use either of these dressings. I saw somebody with a dressing that they had that I know somebody has an empty dressing. You do, Vicki. That's a great dressing too. But you know what? I think they've discontinued it. It's probably still in the warehouse. I looked up online. So, but she's got a great, it's raspberry, isn't it? The raspberry Bolt House one. That's a great one too. So this one has a little bit more sugar than the sesame ginger. We're going to use the sesame ginger, Paul Newman's own. This is another one. You know, you kind of look at labels, you're like, well, it has a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You know, just so long we're using it. Again, we're using this as a quick dish flavoring. So I added that. I'm adding some cilantro. I'm going to add the nuts on the side for Bonnie, but these are unsalted. Okay, a lot of people don't know dry roasted unsalted peanuts. Okay, use that to add into food. Again, like I've said before, nuts are okay. It's just that we need to learn to go with 1 to 2 tablespoons to add flavoring to food. So, you know, so the cilantro, the trick to cilantro to keep it for 20 days is to rinse it when you get home and put 1 to 2 inches of water in the bottom, cold water. I rinse the whole thing and cut off the ends, kind of like flowers, you know, you cut off the ends so they suck up some more of the water. So, and also a lot of times you have these long ends that you can't get it in there, just cut them off. Okay, the stems are a little more of the bitter part of cilantro anyway, so you usually try to avoid the stems as much as you can. So put them in there and just take out what you want. Every 2 days, approximately, exchange the water out. Okay, just, you know, set it aside, dump it out, put some more in, and put it back. You can just take out then what you want for cilantro. So very easy to have. I have cilantro all the time. You can use like a soup container from To Go that you've gotten and saved, or you can buy one of these. So either works just fine. So, let me just mix this up and then the peanuts on top. This is a great way also. A lot of times if I am going to a dinner in the evening and I have no clue what the food's going to be, I can pretty much be assured I'm not going to eat enough vegetables. Okay. If you have no clue, you just can assume that. So I will sit down and have like a bowl of just the broccoli slaw with the dressing on it. Okay. Just to kind of fill me up so I'm not famished when I get there. And I know I've gotten some veggies then. So I can, eat a little of this, a little of that, and just enjoy. So, so that's a trick that I do sometimes too, just having that broccoli slaw. And broccoli slaw is so easy, broccoli, to add to anything, just a little bit, not even like, we're doing here. So there we go, super easy, quick meal that, you could add, our edamame. Sorry, I was like missing something there. Gotta add on the edamame. So some, oops. Okay, yeah, we probably were. We still have the camera. Oh, fun. We're still there. You can add a little chicken if you're transitioning or like Teresa, I just can't do the full like meatless. That's fine. Add a little chicken here. That would be fine. So there we go. With a little nuts on top, you've got plenty of protein there. You got lots of fiber. I'm telling you, a bowl of this is going to fill you up. So, and feel free to add tomatoes or other things on there. So look at this. This is a balsamic. Look how that thickened up. So yes. So
Does that last in the refrigerator after you make it?
it is vinegar. So I have looked this up. You don't need to keep it in the refrigerator. That's gonna turn like you're not gonna get that out of any squeeze bottle if you put that in a squeeze bottle. So no, I keep it in the squeeze bottle at room temperature next to my stove area. So it's fine. I mean, a couple months, it'll be fine. And the nice thing about a squeeze bottle, unless you're like dipping the squeeze bottle in your food, that's the whole problem. It's cross-contamination.
Yeah.
So be careful. I mean, like if you've got something like that, cross-contamination is much more likely than a squeeze bottle with a tip on it. So that's why I do the squeeze bottle for my sauces next to there. So yeah, you're perfectly fine that way. So there you have it. We're going to do the edamame in the, actually here it is. So I'll show you how you eat this. It's just going to be kind of hot. I can feel it. So you just pull the edamame through there. So a little hot, but I pulled it through. So you toss out this. So it's a great thing when you have the munchies again. Just sit there. Yeah, exactly. And it's really good. So we can put this in a bowl with just like 2 teaspoons of rice vinegar. So yeah, it's really good. So yeah, when you're just like, I need something, it's not dinner time yet. This, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Does it have vitamins?
Oh, it'd be fine too, but it's chewy, it's stringy, it's, yeah, I don't think you're gonna want to eat the outside. So, yes, so look how pretty that is. Make your own seasoning, Darlene, do you like kick?
How much?
Kick? Yes. Hello, okay.
How much did you?
Just like 2 teaspoons, 1 to 2 teaspoons. That's good. Just like, toss it.
The question is, you need to ask Bob, does he?
Robert, do you like kick on your food? No. Oh, okay. Well, I was just imagining that you're going to create this wonderful kind of spicy seasoning. Okay, that's fine. You can create some complex seasoning, Robert, so that you just still get lots of flavor out of it, but it just doesn't send you coughing. So, okay, awesome. So thank you guys. A little over there. So next week, we're going to be doing wraps, and we're going to talk about tofu. I'm going to unwrap the mystery, kind of like Wizard of Oz-ish, pull back the curtain so you know everything about tofu that you need to know. And set those action plans. And thank you so much.